because I always feel ridiculous when I've got a fortune pick that's been worn down to a nub, and then I just can't seem to get fortune, no matter how much I enchant. On the
You know what'd be great? Fortune and Unbreakable.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh well, are you good with anvils? Do you know how to use the anvil interface?
So no, not really.
You can just keep and you can over enchant things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had one that had a high level. It had Unbreaking, Fortune 3, and Efficiency all on the same tool.
That's a winner and a half.
Yeah. It's pretty overpowered.
I was listening to one of the earlier videos talking about like WoW rating. Yeah, that's not real rating.
You were,
it was so terrible. I was a guild leader.
Recovering about it? Oh, okay. There you go.
I was a guild leader in vanilla. We had like, and we played a lot, like too much. Some of the guilds I played with was like world firsts and shit like that. And the raid culture on our server was insane, and it was full of crazy people who were like, I will give up everything in my life to be first beating this raid. It's like, yeah, buddy, you're not playing with me.
Well, I wish we'd had just a few people like that. When did you stop?
Like, shortly after Burning Crusade.
Oh,
like,
okay.
after I finished that, I was like, yeah, I think I'm all done.
Well,
like, we got a couple of shots at Nax when it first came out, and that was, like, we had come back, played it, and went, no, the love is gone.
Well, what was I going to say? Okay, well, like, Wrath of the Lich King, it was, the heroics were a complete joke, but they had some pretty tough raids.
Yeah, the raids were such a ridiculous. They were a guild check. They weren't even a gear check. They were a guild check.
Yeah.
It was like, does your guild have 8 tanks? Then you will not progress past this point.
Yeah.
That was the worst fight, the Four Horsemen.
Oh, I remember that.
Probably,
yeah.
like, I would rather play unpatched Cthulhu.
Well, I mean, they had. I tried to get back. I was doing so much ICC that I didn't have best in slot, but all my gear was from ICC, and was just use that to do world PvP and just rape people left and right.
Well, what class were you?
Rogue.
Yeah, so of course the game was fun for you until you had to try and find a pickup.
Yeah. Oh no. I was a reliable raider, so I didn't have a problem getting into raids. But yeah, it was fun doing world PvP because you just get to choose your battles.
Yeah. What server were you on?
Lightning Hoof.
Ah.
Well, you know, I was the one-man Horde Air Force.
I was in your battle group.
Oh, really? Cool.
Skull Crusher.
I don't think it's Skull Crusher.
Thought it was Skull Crusher, Lightning Hoof.
I thought you were.
No, I was on the server Skull Crusher.
Oh, okay.
The battle group was like Typhoon or something.
I would think I was on Shadowburn or something like that.
Yeah, Shadowburn, that sounds right. But it was like us, Warsaw, I think Lightning Hoof, Whisper Wind, and then there was like 1 or 2 other servers.
Oh yeah, I was the one-man Horde Air Force. Because I had, this was back before combat rogues got completely broken in Cataclysm, and what it was is if you had the axes from ICC and you had all ICC or Ruby Sanctum gear, then you could fly up to someone who was AFK on their mount, and then you could dismount and use Killing Spree, which lands 5 hits in a row on the same, and it keeps sort of teleporting you back to them, so it won't let you fall. And that was usually enough to kill someone who was new to level 80. So I just flew around Northrend killing people in the air, and then I had engineering, so I would just parachute to the ground.
You know, it's sad when you have to wear your fucking raid gear just walking around so people don't kill you. I remember World PvP in Burning Crusade was so terribly implemented by Blizzard. But we used to play it anyway because there was nothing else to do. Hang out by that, what was it, that Draenei village in, it was like, I think, the level 70 area. And just destroy people on the bridge. We, like, me and a couple of other guys, warriors, would all go out on our flying mounts, dismount, and then berserk rush from the air, so you wouldn't take any fall damage, and you'd be right on top of the guy who was trying to capture things. It was just brutality, because the guy would just be stunned and stunned and stunned. He'd be out of the stun, but he'd have 7 warriors around him, beating the shit out of him. I had one of those, for PvP, I had one of those weird prospect shield slam builds. So I'd take like extra crit, and what was it, cruelty I think was the trait, and a couple other things, so we could get like ridiculous shield slams, wear all plus block gear, get up to like 9,000 damage if you had the shield from Nax. Back when that was a big number.
Yeah, no shit, back when that was a big number. Now I could probably punch someone with the character I don't use and get that much.
Yeah. You want some light there, buddy?
But then, yeah, I burned out raiding in Wrath, and then Kata comes out, and I think, okay, well, fine, I mean, it shouldn't be this painful the second time around, because I already know what's going on and what to expect and so forth. Well, I got into this raid doing a Twilight something.
Twilight Council.
Well, it was the tower. I remember because it was great because this tower, the entrance to the instance was way up in the air. So what I'd do is I'd get on my red proto and get just like 1 pixel, like my back heel was the only thing touching the platform, right, and face outward. And then I would use have guild will summon.
Yeah.
Yeah, summon the entire raid, and they would each take a step forward and die. But then anyway, so once we got in, though, you know, I took it relatively seriously. I got some complaints from my fellow guildies that I took it too seriously. But I mean, it's like if you're gonna do it, you might as well win. I wasn't like I wasn't like yelling at people or anything, but.
See, I used to yell at people.
Yeah.
You motherfuckers, you are wasting the time of 39 other people every time you die. You know, things like that. And it's true. I mean, I would have fucking people who were there to play and play well. I would have people who were just there to, like, hang out with their friends, fucking chat. It's like, you know what, go fucking hang out and social.
What's that? That was still one of the best titles to one of your older videos. Atheism of Casual Gamers are the scum of the earth. There you go.
Some of them are.
Well, anyway, this one time, you know, we were in that Twilight Bastion. That's what it was called, Twilight Bastion. And there's this boss. Well, I mean, it's 4 guys, and they're each based on one of the Greek elements, or not Greek elements. There's like a gravity. Anyway, but basically Greek elements. Four different elements, and they come in pairs, and they kind of cancel each other's abilities out, right? So you fight the ice and water guy along with the fire guy, right?
Yeah.
Now the guy with it shoots the fire. He leaves like a trail. And the only real raid mechanic that matters is that when you get splashed with water and the water debuff appears, you have to dry yourself off by touching the fire, which is only like 1 pace away from you, no matter where you're standing.
Right.
And people just wouldn't. And what happens is he follows it up with this ice spell that is mediocre if you're dry, but it one-shots you if you didn't dry yourself off. And half the raid would die almost every time. And it's ridiculous. And then, you know, you have people say, the raid leader and people quarreling about what's going wrong. And I'm like, do you think the fact that the dead don't DPS is the problem?
Yeah, no kidding.
It was ridiculous. And
especially when you get to, like, That was probably one of those raids where they start to get the soft and rage timers in there.
Yeah, those. Well, how far back do those date? I mean, but I mean, they
Um,
didn't even need
the
infinite
the
rage.
first soft and rage I remember was Anchorage, the Jackal Guardians. If you didn't down all
Oh,
of them within like I think 10 minutes of pulling them, they'd go big and red and crush the whole raid.
I think the Jackal Guardians were the. It's one of the most infamous fights of all time because
They
it's
were
level.
so easy unless you had stupid rogues.
Well, okay, you played with competent people then, which is amazing to me. Because
Yeah.
every group I went with struggled with them because they just didn't understand how the dynamic worked at all,
Well,
any aspect of it.
well, the Alliance had that. That was easy for Alliance because for the Alliance they would have a Paladin tank. You couldn't fucking do that Horde side. What are you gonna do? Have a shaman do it and get his ass kicked? So we had druids, resto druids with bear gear, and they would be able to tank one of the ones that had thorns pretty easily. And so that's what we would do is we'd figure out what they had. Like one warrior would go pull them all, figure out what they had,
Oh wait,
and
wait,
then after we figured it out, people would pull them
I'm talking
apart.
about the Twin Emperors boss fight.
No, I'm talking about the four stupid Jackal Guardians in the beginning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Twin Emperors. That was one of those ones where everyone fucked it up because they weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Fancrus fight was the same thing. People would just sit. That was like what was it, the scorpion looking guy who had all the like hundreds of ads if you fucked it up.
The other level 60 fights that would mess people up. There were a lot of things in Blackrock Spire that people even at level 80 uh, would just die on because they just wouldn't pay attention or didn't want to learn the mechanic or what have you. I remember those dogs in Molten Core, where if you didn't DPS them at the same time, they'd keep going up, and you'd have these retards who just would not read the chat when you were screaming at them to stop doing single target damage,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd just be there all day. You have people at level 80 who have raid gear, level 80 raid gear, and they're rage quitting a level 60 instance.
What we would do, well, that's tough because when you have people who are like way out gearing the instance, it's really easy to accidentally kill a core hound with a crit. But what we would do is we would have all the rogues would do our single target DPS, and it was just like mages and warlocks with AoE to bring the dogs down. Rogues were only in there to bring down the ones that had big health bars.
Well, see, they didn't have Fan of Knives in Burning Crusade, right? That was
Yeah.
because you had level 8. Fan of Knives turned rogues into a
Oh, they could do AoE DPS now?
Yes.
Yeah, like that's what fucking rogues needed.
Oh, I loved that ability.
Yeah, of course you did. You were a rogue.
Yeah.
That's like, hey, I like stuff too. Fucking, that's a completely, like, I guess, Republican viewpoint to take, sir.
Oh, and the other thing is, you know, they nerfed all the requirements to get into various instances or to get attuned for them because the quest chains often were too long.
Yeah.
Like now any asshole can go to Karazhan and it's been that way for a long time.
Well, who the hell would go and key for Onyxia, like, once they hit level 65? Be like, fuck that. I don't even need this quest chain to clean stuff up. Is it like the only people who would go back are the people who love the lore? And if you love the lore, putting them through a big giant quest is kind of a pain in the dick.
Well, did you do the Scepter of the Shifting Sands?
I did. Oh, I found a whole shitload of diamond again. What I did was Scepter of the Shifting Sands was which one? That was the Fordan for AQ, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the attuning. It was what you originally needed apparently to open it, but you could
Yeah.
still do it long afterwards.
Yeah, so we did that whole thing. We did Thunder Fury like 7 fucking times. That was pretty terrible. Because we got enough of the stuff. We did Molten Core so much and so often that we ended up getting... We had 2 rogues with Thunder Furies. We had 3 warriors with Thunder Furies. We had a paladin who had it because he fucking rolled for it. And I think one of the hunters had it too, but I can't recall us ever like going that low and giving it to a hunter, but it might have happened. It was disgusting. Like, that shit would drop all the time, and I wanted to hand a rag, and we would never, ever, ever fucking see one, ever. It was terrible. Trying to be a Fury Warrior at 60 with no hand a rag kind of sucked balls. Well, not Fury, the other one. The one for big two-handers, I forget the name of it.
Arms.
Thank you.
Well, I remember so many people who just couldn't follow the simplest instructions or do anything right, and just found all kinds of creative ways to fuck things up that never even occurred to me.
Oh, like, what's his name? Netharian. Then the Netharian fight was always awesome at the beginning because of the fucking, because of the ads that would come out of the 2 doors. What was it? The wormkin?
Yeah.
And they'd be a different color, and everyone would have to, like, react immediately and go over to their respective door and do what they're supposed to do. And I remember for a while we had like the worst mages in the fucking world. And so they just single target things that had mana burn and get fucking raped. It was terrible.
Well, I remember we would be doing Molten Core, or about to do it, and we're getting, you know, some people. You only need a few people when you're level 80 to do you know, a level 60 instance, as long as they're not completely retarded.
Yeah.
But it's World of Warcraft, so good luck.
So the majority of people are completely retarded.
Yeah, because, I mean, for example, I would say, okay, you know, putting in the trade chat, we're doing Molten Core, please be attuned to the instance, so we can skip over Blackrock, what is it, Blackrock Depths?
Yeah, Blackrock Depths and then Blackrock Heights. You had to do one part and then the... No, was... No, Heights was for Onyxia. I thought. It was for the... Well, was it? No, it was for both.
This is later. All the attunement things have been
They had all changed?
Yeah, it all changed. I mean, you just needed to go through that one dwarf. It's the longest 5-man in the game. And you had to go through it. And, yeah, you had to go through it if you hadn't attuned for the instance. Otherwise, you could just talk to this elf, a blood elf ghost outside the instance, and teleport immediately to Molten Core. And I would say, are you attuned to the instance? Yeah, invite me to the group, I sure am. And then, so we get there, and I say, okay, talk to the blood elf.
Oh
yeah, that's Blackrock Depths. Yeah, that's Blackrock Depths.
And he says, yeah, he's not giving me an option. And I said, well, you said you were attuned. He says, what's attuned?
Yeah.
I said, it was a thing that you said that you were. Even though you clearly didn't have a fucking clue what I was talking about, and by extension, not what you were talking about. But thanks for holding us all up, so it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I mean, it's not a challenging game at all. It's just that you have to play with so many scrubs.
I'm like lagging out in the elevator. It's amazing. There we go. Now I know where I am.
Up elevator's almost done. Soon it'll take you all the way here.